What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? We are here today. And yes, I apologize. I put the wrong date on the thumbnail, y'all. I had to fix the date. But we are here today with our favorite legal expert. Girl, is that legal? Y'all know that Simone Redwine Esquire is in the house, you guys. I'm getting ready to bring her up. We are ready to get this party started. All right. Hey, girl.
Hey girl, good to see
I
you.
know it's been a while. It's been a while. You know, you've been out
Yes.
partying and celebrating and getting ready, girl. I say I wasn't sure with the holidays coming up and everything, but I'm glad that we are here. I'm glad we've been able to link up and um what's the countdown looking like?
It's actually coming up this spring for the wedding. She's talking about my
Right. Okay. Yeah, for those
yeah,
who do not know, so Simone is getting married, and I know you had your bridesmaid
yes.
getaway. I saw some of the footage, girl. Y'all had a good time.
Woo! Yes, I have my bachelorette. So yeah, y'all, I'm so very backwards.
Next time I'm gonna stow away on the back of the plane, honey.
I
Y'all look
would
like y'all
love
had yourselves a good time.
we did. I would love that. It ended up being 26 girls, so I had to really cut it back.
Oh, listen, I get it. I saw my girl Samantha B was there, and
Yes.
so y'all had a good time. So yeah,
Mhm.
so we're gonna. So I want to say before we get started, a couple of things real quick. I want to welcome anybody that is here from Girl Is That Legal YouTube channel. The we are streaming on both channels at the same time, so still subscribe to Girl Is That Legal because she has all
Yeah.
sorts of content over there that doesn't include really being. Um, but today we are streaming both. So if you are a subscriber to Girl Is That Legal, welcome to the tribe. We have a good time over here, and y'all you just jump on in and you get in where you fit in. Okay. Also on Thursday on Girl Is That Legal, and I'm gonna make this announcement again, but before I forget, I'm gonna say it now. Simone will be talking to the lawyer for Shanquella Robinson. So we're going to touch a little bit on international law and extradition. I'm gonna just ask her a few questions about that. But
Mhm.
if you want updates, if you want valid, confirmed, reliable information, please, you guys, make sure y'all head over to Simone's channel on Thursday. I do not have the time yet because
Yes, we're gonna get there now.
her lawyer will be literally flying in on Thursday, and so they're gonna coordinate the time once they get all of that straight.
Yeah.
I will post it on my community wall, and if you are subscribed to Girl Is That Legal's channel, which everybody should subscribe today, you will definitely get the notification. Or well, make sure you tap the
Yes.
notification
Yes.
bell.
Tap the notification.
So if anybody says, well, why aren't y'all talking about the Shanquella Robinson? Because you guys will get everything you need and be able to ask whatever questions that they can legally answer
Right.
Thursday night on Girl Is That Legal's channel. But we will talk. I do have a few questions about
Right.
international law because Simone did practice law outside of the United States for a while. So we're going to talk about that. So let me say hi to everybody, and then we're going to jump right in. Lemon Kush, hey, what's up, C Golden? I'm sorry, C Golden was the one that made me look at the thumbnail again. She said, "Is this supposed to be today or tomorrow?" I said, "Oh shoot, I put the wrong date over here."
I was wondering myself, but I wasn't gonna say nothing because I was like,
Girl, you should have said something. Look, I told you. Look, I meant to do this. Don't get me started. I meant to do this thumbnail 2 days ago, and then I would have probably caught it by now. Hey, cool gamer, what's up, Casmine? Hey, Morgan, Creative Diva. Hey, Couture, Brittany, and Brittany 88. Hey, Below, what's up, Xavier? Hey, Simon Stewart, how you doing? O Street. Hey, Tracy, what's going on? Tracy, where's your you're not green. It's something, girl. Anyway, what's up, Bat? Hey, Xavier. This too much. Said this gonna be good. Hey,
it's not. No,
China Right. What's up, Brittany Young? All right,
I
you
just got a
guys. No,
deal, so
girl, you all
I'm gonna
right.
y'all leave me alone.
Girl, listen. You done got your face put on over here. You done got girl. We good. We casual over here. We
I love
casual.
it.
So I know that there are a couple of stories, and feel free to ask questions in the chat towards the end, because if you ask it now it's gonna be gone, but towards the end feel free. Simone may not be your attorney, but she is an attorney, and she's willing to answer some basic legal questions for you guys. I will make sure that I put her phone number and everything, her contact. She is a practicing attorney out of the
Yeah.
state of Texas. She if you anywhere in the United States, she can try to help you out. You give her a call,
Okay.
and she is linked up. She is linked up. so she can align you with someone in your state if she cannot help you. But if you are in the state of Texas, she absolutely can assist you. And tell us again your focus on field.
So I focus on expungements within Texas, but injury, serious injury, and wrongful death cases across America. So I can handle those in any state. I have partners in various different states, and we will get you relief. Whether it's if you are one of the people who believe that you've suffered from cancer as a result of dangerous products like perms, or whether you're injured in an Uber or a Lyft or by 18-wheeler, give us a call.
Okay.
My number is 1-855-4-SIMONE, SYMONE, like I spell it. And I got a new website coming later this week.
Okay, we got the new launch, SYMONE. 1-800-4-SIMONE. Okay, I'm a pin that. Yeah,
Thank you.
That. Okay. Okay. So with that being said, Raven, we just getting this party started. Do you want to start? No. Do you want to start with the 10-year-old? Or do you want
to?
Okay. So I'm going to play a clip for you guys. Hey, Quintessential Love. I'm going to play a clip for you guys. It's a 3-minute clip so you guys can get a gist of the case if you're not already familiar with the case. And then we are going to get this party started. We're going to go deeper. All right. Let's see. Share my screen.
On my PayPal, so I'm looking down at my phone just so I can share. I promise.
Y'all okay. Make sure I'm doing. Oh, here it is right here. Okay. Wait a minute. Hold on. I just had this video up. Wait a minute, y'all. Hold on. Girl, I literally just had that video up. All right. Hold on. Let me stop sharing the screen. I literally just had that video up. Now it's saying that it's unavailable. I literally just watched that video and then emailed it to myself. So I'm not sure if YouTube has blocked it because YouTube will block stuff. Yeah. Hold on. Let me see.
But I think yeah.
Hold on, let me see. It's playing. No, YouTube must have blocked it because when I tell you I just watched that video and then emailed it to myself because I was like, oh, okay, that's a perfect video. So, well, let me just do this then, you guys.
Yeah. I think I could give you a clip too.
Okay. Well, let me give you a brief synopsis, and if you have a clip, you can just send it to me, or you can share your screen. Now that we're linked up, you can share your screen.
Okay, let me try that. Hold on. Okay. I'm gonna download it. Go ahead. I'll let you set it up.
Okay. So for those who are not familiar, there's a 10-year-old young boy in Milwaukee, and the reason why everybody has to keep saying 10-year-old, well, maybe not now because they're charging him as an adult, but prior to, he was a juvenile. They don't release juvenile names, so that's why his name up until this point really hasn't been released. But he wanted the virtual reality goggles. And his mother told him no, and he ended up, and we got to be careful with our words so that YouTube don't get us, but he ended up using a gun to fatally wound his mother. And the next day he ordered the goggles. He ordered the goggles. Now what we found out in that's why the video clip that I found I wanted to show, it shows that this has been a pattern of behavior. And I'm not doing this to defend or because I'll give my opinion. I'm gonna let Simone give her opinion and then
I think I'm ready to share
it. Okay, I see it in the background. Okay. So, that's me. That's perfect timing. Okay. All right, while you do that, I'm gonna go do what I told you I gotta run and do. Can you add it to do I need to add it to the stream or can you add it to the stream?
Let me hit that. Add to the stream. Here we go. This one. Stop. It says stop. How do I think you need to add it.
Okay, I just did it.
There you go. Let me just play it real quick.
Okay.
There we go. Can you see it now? Can you hear it?
Murder and hate crimes against the person accused of carrying out an attack at a gay nightclub last month.
Hold on.
Investigators say the suspect.
That's not it. Hold on. Let me scroll down. Is this here the 10-year-old? Here we go. They got a dumb little commercial that's got to play, I guess. But here we go. Oh, I need this stupid commercial to go. Okay, 4 more seconds. Here we go. All right, are y'all able to?
There's a shooting around Susie's quiet neighborhood.
Steve Frisch has lived near 87th and Hemlock for more than 2 decades. His quiet neighborhood was shaken up last week after police say a 10-year-old boy killed his mother. Frisch described the family as average.
He just asked me how I'm doing and stuff like that.
According to a criminal complaint, the boy originally told police he accidentally shot his mom when he was twirling the gun, but the next day, the family called police with serious concerns. They say the boy told his aunt he was actually aiming the gun at his mother. According to detectives, the boy said he got the gun because he was mad at his mom for waking him up at 6 a.m. and that she would not allow him to order a virtual reality headset from Amazon. Police say the boy told them he got the gun by taking his mom's keys to the gun safe. He says he took up a shooting stance and that he wanted to shoot the wall to scare her, but she walked in front of him. Family told the police the boy had, quote, rage issues all his life, and at 4 years old picked up a puppy by its tail and swung it around until it whined in pain. The criminal complaint states that 6 months ago, the 10-year-old filled a balloon with flammable liquid and set it on fire, which caused a sectional and carpet in their home to catch fire. A sibling told police the 10-year-old was meeting with a therapist who gave him a concerning diagnosis that led his mother to place cameras inside their home. The cameras were unplugged 2 weeks ago. A family member told police, quote, they felt bad for not stepping in earlier because they knew that eventually something bad was going to happen. This morning, we asked Mayor Kevlar Johnson about the charges the 10-year-old is facing.
Anytime there's violence that happens in Milwaukee, whether it's committed by somebody who's 10 years old or much older than that, that gives me pause. I don't want to see anybody hurt or lose their lives in the city.
All right. So there we go. We get the gist. Ooh, let's see. How do I remove? There we go. All right. The grand dame. Okay, guys. So that is generally the gist of it. I guess I should have
changed that from last night.
No problem. That's okay. I could have let the mayor go on, but yeah. So the gist is he had all these issues, and the question is both for the community and for you guys viewers is 10 years old too young to be charged as an adult? Oh gosh, somebody said one of their uncles is dating the young man's aunt. Interesting. All right. So, and I want to set this up for you, which is that I want to give you some statistics, some information on this whole charging a 10-year-old as an adult. Now, my first question when I just heard about the case, right? All they did was like show a picture of the outside of the house. I knew that this was a little black boy because they don't charge white 10-year-olds as adults. It just doesn't happen. Now, however, I will say this. Under Wisconsin law, anyone age 10 or older is initially charged as an adult, and then a hearing has to take place. And at that hearing, the hearing is to determine if they can be charged as a child rather than adult. Well, to me, it totally destroys the whole point of the opportunity to be charged as a child. At the end of the day, if a 10-year-old can be considered a grown person, then who can't? Who can't? And his rationale here was because his mom didn't buy him basically a video game controller. Now, if that doesn't speak to the immaturity of a child, then what does? Now, the whole purpose of the option to be tried as a child versus an adult is due to the fact that children's minds are not fully developed. You know, Crystal, you're an educator, so I'm sure you're well familiar with this. Children do not rationalize in the same way. They don't problem solve in the same way. And etc. Now, here though, so ultimately what's going to happen is his defense attorneys will put on a hearing stating basically, no, he shouldn't be charged as an adult. He should be charged as a child. And I'd like to see, Crystal, as you're reading the comments, particularly differing views, because the commentary that I've read on social media was basically, he was bad. He knew what he was doing. But that's not the legal standard. Knowing what you're doing, knowing you're shooting a gun isn't the legal standard. It's basically the same as competency. So it's basically appreciating that what you're doing is ending someone's life, right? And also appreciating the fact that there's no coming back from this. You'll hear about crazy people who say, oh, I heard voices and they told me to kill this person. But they think that by doing that, they're going to go to heaven. They're doing a good thing, this or that. Similarly here, it sounds like he simply thought scaring his mom, as he articulated, by shooting the gun at her would scare her into giving him what he wanted. And it sounds to me basically like this child is just mentally disturbed. That's not the same as being grown enough or mature enough to being tried as an adult. And it seems like the true concern in America today is that when kids are tried as kids, they feel like they're let go too easily and they're able to reoffend. So if that's the issue, let's address that issue, such as you can have sentences that say, okay, you're going to stay in juvenile detention till you're 21, and then you're going to get a psych evaluation. And that psych evaluation is going to determine, do you go to the crazy house or do you go to a big boy prison or elsewhere? What do you think, Crystal?
So for me, and I look at it from, like you said, from the point of view, I worked at a detention center and I dealt with kids who were being charged as adults. So my answer is gonna probably step on some toes.
That's okay.
And I'm not blaming the mother. So before I say what I say, I don't want nobody to be like, well, you blaming the mom. The mother's no longer here, and I'm not, it's always easy to Monday morning quarterback a situation. But let me say this. Here is where we, as a society, have to stop feeling like people are trying to come at your child. From and your news story was very similar to the one that I had, so that was good. But from what we saw there, people had expressed concern about this young man. He had been diagnosed with some sort of an anger issue. I saw somebody in the chat say he was only 10. What was he angry about? It's not about what he was angry about. It's about a disposition that he has within himself. It was the article that I read said that because of the incident with the balloon and the flammable liquid, they had put cameras in the house, but 2 weeks ago or 2 weeks before this incident, the cameras were unplugged. Who unplugged the cameras? Did the mom unplug the cameras? Did the little boy unplug the cameras? And why weren't they plugged back in?
Yeah, they said it was the little boy. He unplugged it.
Okay. So
because his mom was catching him doing stuff he had no business.
Had no business doing, right. At a certain point, you have to say, my child needs help beyond what I can give him here.
Right.
And that's a hard decision. I'm not a parent, but I know that is a hard decision. But it is clear that I'm not saying that he was do I think at 10 years old, he's fully cognizant of the consequences of what he did? No, I don't think he wrapped his brain around the fact that his mother is gone forever and ever and ever. No, I don't think he wrapped his brain around that. I think in the moment he was mad. Like you said, he wanted to scare her. Mm-hmm. But do I think he had the full understanding of what that meant? No. But I also feel like, at what point do you as a parent say, this is beyond what I can do here? Because he clearly has, and the other problem is, in this country, unfortunately, we are not in the business of rehabilitation. We are in the business of punishment. And I think that's the other thing people have to understand too. We don't rehabilitate in this country. We don't. We punish. And that is why people become institutionalized. That is why people come out better criminals than when they went in, because it's not about rehabbing the issue. So is this young man going to get the help? It doesn't matter whether they put him in jail for 20 years or put him in jail for, until he's 21, or put him in jail till he's 40. The problem is still going to be there, because we're not focusing on fixing what is really seems to be some sort of there's a mental issue there.
Right. Clearly. Clearly. So in the chat, y'all let us know, what would you do if this was your child? I think this is a good example of a child that needs services outside of the home. But when parents are not informed of what those services, what's the depth of potential options, right? Then what they think, particularly when they're low income and they're like, well, I don't want to call the police. They could kill my child. And so while that's understandable, but you owe to yourself to protect yourself, but also to any other kids. Now, check this out. Now, some people are saying, well, what could he have been so mad about? Let me tell you. My first year of practice, I worked at a large national law firm, and we used to defend the local school district. And one day I'm in my office and I hear the sound of a Black dad. It sounds like a Black father screaming at his child. And I'm like, what in the world? I go in the lobby. It's this family that's there for a deposition. They are some of the defendants in the case. So this mother who is dying of cancer, Black mother dying of cancer, has sued, I believe it was like the Newark School District. This is when I was in New Jersey, sued the Newark School District and the family of this little boy. The little boy was 8 years old. The mother who's dying of cancer is suing them because one day her little boy was using the bathroom in second grade, and the other little boy raped him in the bathroom. Now, the other little boy had all kinds of behavioral issues, and the screaming that I heard was his grandpa, his 32-year-old grandfather, screaming at him for running around or like jumping up and down and not sitting still, basically in the lobby as they were waiting to do a deposition. The little boy had to do a deposition. And during the deposition, that little boy was so lit up on Ritalin and whatever else, depression medication, etc., that it was very difficult to get answers because he was so sleepy. But the family was screaming and yelling. The 32-year-old grandpa was yelling at the grandma and all kind of things. I say this to say, in my history of practicing, when I see really, really angry kids that are that young, we're talking 8, 10, etc., they're abused children. The anger stems from abuse, sexual and or physical, generally a combo of both. And sometimes it will be directed at the parent that they felt like either should have protected them, or who maybe they informed them and said, this happened to me. And then that parent, to their feeling, didn't do anything about it. You don't just get born bad.
Right.
You don't get born knowing to swing animals and do those things. Usually it comes from levels of rage from some form of treatment. Now, again, but that then goes into right now, what the law is trying to do is using his emotional issues and his poor behavior as grounds for charging him as an adult. That's not how that's supposed to go. And what my concern is, I want you guys to watch this case very carefully, because this sets a terrible precedent for Black children, especially little Black boys, going forward. Because if they can charge a little 10-year-old Black boy as a grown man, then your son is next. Your daughter is next.
But I remember, and I don't remember the ages, Simone. So I do remember. This was years ago. I mean, this probably was maybe 15 years ago. There were some kids, and they were wrestling, and they were mimicking the wrestling moves. This lets you know again the mentality. They were mimicking the wrestling moves that they saw on TV, and they ended up killing one of the kids. And they charged that kid as an adult. And I don't remember the ages. And it was, that was a bunch of white kids. And I'm not saying your point is valid, because your point is very valid. But I know that was, and I remember the outrage then, because they were like, well, wait a minute. Because it should let you know that their mentality was off, because they didn't even understand that wrestling was fake, and that these things are choreographed, and they train these grown men to do this, and this isn't fake. And somebody ended up not alive. And somebody said something that's very valid in the point I highlighted. Parents have to know their resources and to fight to get them. And I think that's a point that we need to understand as well, is that a lot of times people, and not just parents, but people don't know where to go. And especially in inner cities, the social services fail people. Because where resources should be available, people are short-staffed and overworked. There's a breakdown in protocol. There's a breakdown in chain of command. Well, not chain of command, but there's a breakdown in where you go and how you get there. And a lot of times people are looking for help. They are reaching out and asking for help.
Right.
But and like you said, there is fear that is valid to say, well, look, I don't want you to take my child. I don't want social services to say I'm a bad parent. I don't want the police to show up and God forbid they react, and all of those things. So all of those things are very valid thoughts for Black mothers or mothers of Black and brown children that are different.
Right.
And I agree with you that I know the problem though for me is because do I think that a 10-year-old should be in an adult prison? Absolutely not. That's
the other part. In most states, when you're charged as an adult, once sentenced,
you go to an adult prison.
You have to go, especially New York State, etc. They don't care. And so it's a wrap for that child's literal childhood. Someone said, I thought you were talking about the Black boy. We're talking about the case we're talking about is a 10-year-old Black boy in Wisconsin who's getting charged as an adult. Wisconsin law basically states that if a child is 10 or older, they're charged as an adult, generally by default, and then the defendant basically has to have a hearing to petition and plead to the judge, know that they shouldn't be. Now, all the specialists out there nowadays will tell you, ooh, what happened here? There we go. Sorry about that. All the specialists out there will tell you that's insane to charge, like children's psychologists, to charge children in this manner. And let me give you just a few examples. So I did some research on basically the likelihood of a brown or Black child being charged as an adult versus the other. And it's astronomical. They are 8 to 10 times more likely to be charged as an adult if you are Black or brown. The youngest children in America to be charged as an adult were all Black children. There's the 11-year-old in Michigan. His name was Nathaniel. I got his last name here. Nathaniel Abraham. He's finally out now, but he was charged when he was 11 years old. That was in Michigan. And his situation, oops, sorry about that. What? Sorry, it's showing my other screen. But his situation there was that, let me stop that. There we go. His situation with Nathaniel Abramson is that he was getting abused. He was getting R-word and molested. And so he chose to basically hurt his attacker. Then there were 2 siblings. They're the youngest in Florida. They were 12 and 13. Curtis and Catherine Jones. They were getting abused. They went and they told their father and their father's girlfriend. They did nothing about it to protect them and continued to put them around their abuser. So they then hatched a plan that they were going to basically terminate the life of their dad and the dad's girlfriend. They did the girlfriend first, and then they got terrified and didn't hurt their father. But they were given that time. Now, the Supreme Court, someone mentioned the Supreme Court, has just come back and said, if you are under the age of 17, you cannot be if you're under 18, you cannot be given the death penalty. They a few years ago determined that, and you can't be given life without parole. So you do have to be given the option for parole at some point, but it doesn't mean it has to be granted. But yeah, my main thing I just wanted everyone to be aware of is keep abreast of the case. And it's not as open and shut. If you are out, if you live near that community, you may want to make some calls to the local DA there. There in that city, the mayor is Black. I'm sure that the young man is probably going to have a public defender or an appointed attorney that could be of color. We'll see. But the point is, if it can happen to that boy, it's going to happen to our children. And effectively, everyone will be charged as.
It just opens up the floodgates.
It does. It does. And most importantly, if you don't listen to anything else I say, if you have a child that's ever gets involved in something and the police say, hey, we need you to bring them down to talk to us, do not. You legally do not have to bring yourself or anyone when they say come down, because guess what? That means they don't have enough information to arrest them. And if you go down there and they get to glibber glabbering, y'all gonna give them something. Because what people forget are moms. I watch these, I hear of these moms all the time. Well, he didn't do nothing. He said he didn't do nothing. So I want him to go down there and tell the truth. So these people will stop calling on my phone. First of all, what law school did your child go to? I'll wait. Second of all, you know what they call the person who just was there and saw everything but didn't do anything? A lookout. So the best thing to always do is not show up and tell them we'll come when you appoint an attorney for us.
And I think, and none of us know all of the law. Like even people who went to law school, like, there have been times when Simone's like, look, I need to check on that, or because the laws are different and it does go state to state. And let me say this, and y'all know I got my degree from Matlock University, but Law and Order University. But with that being said, also understand that when we're talking about minors, please don't be fooled into thinking just because they're under 18, the police cannot talk to them and use it against them. Because I've been revisiting, and I'm just throwing this out there, I've been revisiting the case of Anad Saeed down here in Baltimore, who was convicted of unaliving his girlfriend who just got out of jail. His conviction was just vacated or whatever. I hope I used the right language, vacated. But okay, thank you. But as I'm re-listening to the case, he was questioned. He was 17, and the police were able to use what he said in that conversation in his trial. His parents were not notified, and they said, well, he waived his rights, but he was 17, and they, his attorneys argued, but he was 17, and what the judge decided was, well, what was the difference between 17 and 18? He knew his rights. He understood what he was doing, and they allowed the things that he told the police. So please don't think, oh, well, he's a minor and they can't talk to my child. It goes state to state. Now, that's the state of Maryland. It may be different in the state of Virginia. It may be different in the state of Georgia, but in the state of Maryland, they said, well, what's the difference between 17 and 18? And he waived his right.
Think of it this way. My grandma always said, watch what white people do and do what they do. Right. When it ever comes with interacting with the law, this and that. Think of it this way. What did Trump do? When they said, Trump, we just need you to come down here and answer some questions. What did he do? He told them to go sit on a tag. He told them, screw you. And he answered no questions. His attorneys were even trying to negotiate that maybe they would give him written questions. And no, ultimately his attorneys were like, no, we're not going to let any questions be asked. That's how come right now he hadn't been charged with anything by Congress, because perjury is real. And under federal law, lying to any federal officer is considered perjury, and they knew they would have gotten it. So if Donald Trump won't sit down with the police, and he's got all the lawyers, right? Then why should you? Also, lastly, a lot of people don't know when I have had clients who, and I've asked them, I said, why the heck didn't you just ask for a lawyer? He's like, well, I don't have money for that. Okay, that's fine. And he was like, well, also, I didn't want them to think I'm guilty. I didn't want it to look suspicious. First of all, who cares what they think? But secondly, a lot of people don't realize that if you just walk into the room and you say, I want a lawyer, that can never be used against you. In fact, they can't play that for the jury. The jury will never, ever, ever know that you walked into that room and you said, I want a lawyer. You know why? Because if they were to see that, there's a chance that some jurors would say, well, if he was guilty, if he was innocent, he should have just answered their questions.
Right.
So you can't even know that. So to the extent your thought is, I'm bringing my kid in because I don't want them to look guilty, the answer is, who gives a flying fart? And secondly, only the DA can cut you a deal. Right. The cops cannot, and they will lie to you and tell you, just answer some questions and I'll do what I can. If you have a lawyer, your lawyer can negotiate with the DA, lawyer to lawyer. Nobody.
And I was going to say that, and actually that was the second thing I was going to say, and I have forgot, but that's the second thing I was going to say. Don't let the police pull that old, mind trick on you. Well, if you don't have anything to hide, why won't you answer some questions? It has absolutely nothing to do. Like you said, you don't know what the police are looking for. You don't know what evidence they have and don't have. And so you don't know, even though what you're saying may be very innocent, you don't know if what you're saying is the piece they're looking for, or if it's a clue to the next thing, or if you're opening up Pandora's box. So don't say anything until, like you said, make them prove to you that they have a reason to talk to you. They may be only talking to you because they heard from somebody who said in a text message that they found that you were there. They have no idea. You don't know. The other thing is, and Simone just said this, the police legally, I believe it was a Supreme Court decision, are legally allowed to lie to you.
Yes.
So you can't, just because the police said it doesn't make it true. So don't go by that either. Okay.
Yeah.
So I do agree though, Simone, that this could be very dangerous in setting a precedent. I do think it will open up Pandora's box, that if this case goes forward and this young man is convicted, it does open up Pandora's box for the next case and the next case and the next case. And it will disproportionately affect our boys of color. Absolutely, it will.
Yep. I do expungements all over Texas, and I kid you not. Whenever I have a case come across my desk where someone is seeking an expungement and they were 17 and they were charged as an adult, I don't need to see nothing else. I know they were a white kid. Black kids never get charged as children, even though they're 17. But the white ones do. And I had two boys, did the same exact offense, same age, same county. One was treated as a juvenile. The other was treated as as a grown-up. And it dramatically impacted their ability to join the military after.
Absolutely.
And a variety of other things. So this is a real deal. And yeah, if you ever have a kid or whatever in that situation, just go ahead, hire a lawyer.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this and then we can move on. This is the last thing I'm gonna say. And I mean, I'll let you have the last word, but this is the last thing I'm gonna say on it. Y'all know I worked, for those who don't know, and I highlighted this comment up here, Marcy Robbins. I'm not sure if you are one of Girl Is That Legal subscribers or my subscribers, but we've talked about this multiple times on my channel because I've dealt with that. She said, until you've been through seeking help for a person who has mental health issues, you have no idea how America has failed. Credit Ronald Reagan. We can also add, much as we may not want to say that, we can add Bill Clinton to that as well. But I've talked about that on my channel extensively because my best friend, who she's been very candid, she's actually spoken on my channel before. Her mom dealt with mental issues. And I mean, from the time she was in high school, we were in high school, until the time that her mother unfortunately passed away a few years ago. This is something we dealt with as far as getting her help, getting her in and out of facilities. How long will they keep her? It's a lot, you guys. It is hard. It is not easy. We were talking about that when we were having our conversation about Kanye West, and people were like, oh, he doesn't have real friends surrounding him. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. He's a grown man. And again, the standard is he a danger to himself or to others? At this point, Kanye West ain't done nothing but say stuff that pisses people off. That's not enough to get him committed against his will.
Right. He's a financial danger to himself.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
You know, but again, that doesn't mean that there aren't people that are trying to do things behind, but I ain't gonna go down that. That's a right. rabbit hole. But I'm just saying we would talk about that. But my last word on this juvenile piece is, y'all know I worked in the detention center. I was coming from the point of view as I was teaching, but I worked there. And let me say this to you guys. I worked at the detention center, which is the temporary placement in between. So it's when kids get arrested, we would have kids come in the middle of the night all day long, because when they got picked up, they were processed and they were brought to the placement. Kids who were being charged as adults. Now, on average, kids were with us 3 to 7 days, right? Because you come in, you get a court date, and the judge makes a decision about whether you're going to just stay at our facility for a couple of months, or you're going to actually get a long-term placement somewhere else. We weren't a long-term placement. But for the kids who were being charged as adults, they were with us sometimes up to 2 years. Because the minute the state decides that they're going to charge you as an adult, of course, your attorney is going to do everything in their power to not charge you as an adult. And so that is basically, it's like being in big boy court. And it's all of the motions, and it's the back and forth, and so it gets continued and continued and continued and continued. And we literally had kids with us who were with us up to 2 years like I said, our placement was really a temporary placement. The only way they would get moved out is if, God forbid, they turned 18 while they were there, and then that was almost automatic. If they turned 18 while they were waiting to find out if they were going to be charged as an adult, it was almost automatic that they would be charged as an adult, and they automatically got sent to prison. Most facilities, like Simone said, are not equipped for kids. So either the child is in general population or in solitary confinement. Neither one is a great option.
At all.
For a child. So imagine this 10-year-old boy, they probably would put him in solitary confinement, right? Because there's no way they would put him in general population. So we're talking about a 10-year-old little boy, regardless of what he did, a 10-year-old little boy in solitary confinement by himself for 23 hours out of the day. Because that's what well, no, I'm lying. The minus their sleep, and they only have an hour outside of their cell, minus sleep. And so they get an hour for exercise, and then that's it. They even eat in their cells, right? So yeah. Now, because he's under school age, he probably would leave to go to school every day. But minus that, he's in a cell by himself all day, all night. Yeah, that's not what this little boy needs. Regardless of how we may feel about what he did, that's not what this boy needs. Right. All right. Okay, we can move on. Now let's go to something a little light. You go lighter, Holmes, girl. You're gonna talk to us about TJ Holmes.
Yes. So I don't know if you had a clip or anything you wanted to roll for this one, but I think we're pretty familiar with it.
Yeah, I don't have a clip, child. I think we good on TJ Holmes, child. We know we know who and what it is, child.
So the update with TJ and Miss Thing, TJ and Amy, right? So TJ is married to a woman named Mary Lee. Can't pronounce her last name, but a Black woman. Whose mother is from the Congo and whose father was an American who did Peace Corps and met her mama over there. She is an attorney that does immigration law, and she is just an all-out bad A. Okay, just an awesome, successful woman. He's cheated with Amy. Now, there's different stories as to how long the cheating has been going on. Their claim is that TJ and his wife have been living apart for a year now, since last October, and that Amy and her husband have been living apart for at least a few months, right? And so as a result, ABC initially came back last week and said, hey, these are two consenting adults. They're on equal levels and it's fine. Like, we're not going to punish them. But then all the fanfare ensued. So recently they have been removed from the morning show because they were co-hosts together. And now it's just listed as they're suspended from the morning show. Now, they may try and reassign them to different tasks, but the network cited that it was too big of a distraction. Mm-hmm. And so I've had some people ask, is that legal? Can they do that? And the answer is heck yeah. So most jobs have a rule that's basically you can't sleep with a superior or someone above you or someone below you. The reason they have that, obviously, is to prevent sexual harassment lawsuits. Now here, because they're both on the same level and they were both very popular because, money talks, right. The network didn't want to shake it up due to the fact that they don't have the whole sexual harassment issue in that one is never in charge of the other. But the distraction is so clear. It's supposed to be a news show. We want to look at their interaction and be like,
right, because the ratings went up. And I said, that's just looky-loos. The ratings went up temporarily because all of the looky-loos wanted to see what was going on. Yeah.
Yes. But unless their contract has a morality clause provision, which a lot of TV contracts do, but not in this context. It's more so like if you get accused of Harvey Weinsteining people, or things right. like that they could pull you. Generally not this kind of thing. So they can reassign each of them. But what happens is they have to do it fairly for the male and the women. They can't act like they're punishing one more severely than the other because then
then that's a whole nother thing. Yeah.
Discrimination. Yeah. Sexual discrimination. But also they're still, unless they're running afoul of one of those provisions, if they decided to fire them, they still have to pay them out their contract. Yeah, they still have to pay them out. And news anchors, they have very clear set contracts. The contract will say 3 years, $3 million a year, or whatever it is. Well, this is great for Mary Lee, TJ's wife, who apparently wants to file for divorce because she's tired of this man embarrassing her. Now, first, the photos that we saw, those were done by a private investigator.
Oh, so that wasn't just some old random paparazzi that happened to see him out. Oh,
Spouses hired a PI. Now we know the wife is a lawyer, and I don't know what the husband does, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was the wife who hired the PI to take those photos and then allowed him to link it. I actually think it's probably the husband. The reason I say that is because TJ has been embarrassing and cheating on his wife for years now. The proof that we have is that in 2020, for their 10-year anniversary, he made this really nice, nasty Facebook post that was supposed to be a compliment to her, praising her for the 10 years together. But in it, he acknowledged and said, I've given you many, many reasons to not be married to me. I've given you many reasons to divorce me. I have implied I've embarrassed you. I've done X, Y, and Z. All of that implied to me, you done caught me before. You keep forgiving me. I don't deserve this level of grace, but thank you for it. I appreciate it. And that he's probably continuing to do, F-boy stuff all the while that they had been married. Now, as a result, so that occurred in 2020. He posted that message. So that's what makes me think that she's probably been aware of this. And if they've been living apart for a year, she probably already had started, lining everything up for a divorce. But if he ends up getting fired, right, where they have to pay out his contract, that's actually fantastic, because that means Mary Lee, TJ's ex-wife, will be able to use those funds as well as funds that she is entitled to under the divorce. Why? Because, especially in New York, where it's a future value, right, of his contract, that would have been marital money in the household if he could have kept his Peter Weeder in his pants.
Not the Peter Weeder.
Peter Weeder in the pants.
Oh, so she's married to Andrew Shue?
Oh. Yes. Now, who is he? I've heard that name. He's a producer.
Well, he was on Melrose Place, but he was like big, one of those big 90s actors.
Yeah.
He was on Melrose Place, but he was in a couple of other things too. But yeah, I remember who that is. Oh wow. Okay.
Correct. And someone's acknowledging prior to this woman, prior to Amy, TJ was cheating with a producer on
Yeah.
Now that may be what comes back and bites TJ in his bottom, because a producer could be seen as being above you.
Right.
Or depending on their level, below you.
And we don't know what type of HR action took place behind the scenes as a result of that. Maybe right. HR tapped him on the hand already and said, okay, look, don't let it happen again. Maybe the producer filed, like, we don't know what may have happened. And it may look like it may be an unequal treatment, but if he's already got tapped on the hand for this before, or there's a pattern, then yeah, right. That could be an issue. That could come back and be an issue.
Right. So ultimately it could be an issue why he, his punishment is different. Potentially from hers. I have a feeling that they're probably going to reassign them so that they're not morning show hosts. They may put one in the morning, put one on a different show, or have one do like special interviews kind of thing, so that basically they don't have to work together, because it has to be very uncomfortable to have to work with two coworkers that are screwing. Like, I don't want to sit on the sofa after them. Like, if I come in their office, I'm like, oh no, I'll stand.
And it has to be awkward to have to sit there and do that morning show banter, jokey joke, and you be like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, it has to be some level of, because when we talked about it, I was talking about with Morning Joe, and I said, well, Joe and Mika, they were dating for years and nobody knew, and they were both married when the show started, so nobody really knows the timeline. Of course, they're going to say that they have both left their, respective spouses before, blah, blah, blah. But nobody really knows the timeline. But the way they handled it, nobody really knew until they were damn near engaged. You know what I mean?
Yes. Uh-huh. I mean,
now I'm sure the people around the set and stuff knew. But yeah, okay. Well, they saying that in the chat, they saying that Amy cheated on her ex-husband with Andrew, but the difference is she didn't do it at work. You know what I mean? Like that's the difference. It didn't happen at work because y'all know the rules are different when you're dating a coworker, and there has a lot of companies have a clause where you just have to let HR know, and you sign off a document acknowledging the relationship and that the company is not liable if anything goes left, and there's no, a lot of companies have that policy, but a lot of people just don't want to disclose the relationship. But a lot of jobs have that policy where you could just say da 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 da. But I agree with you. I think they're going to just reassign them and separate them. I don't know how. I'm gonna be honest. Had there never been scandal, had both of them been able to complete their divorce before the public found out, then I think they might have been okay if and when. That's the same thing. Like I said, that's what happened with Morning Joe. We didn't find out until both of them were divorced and they had been dating. And like I said, they were damn near getting ready to get married when most people found out that they were dating. It's all about decency and order. You know what I mean? It's all about perception and what we see,
Yeah. Now, someone said if I was a coworker, I would want to check too. Now, this is what I would say. If I had a homegirl who worked there, if potentially the way in which someone could potentially have a claim is if they feel he was giving that either party was given a favor for screwing the boss, basically for screwing each other. The challenge though is one is not over another. Like TJ and Amy are equal level. However, someone who maybe works underneath him, let's say an associate producer, feels that she was continually being placed in uncomfortable situations, maybe where she had to lie to their spouses to cover what was going on. She could go to HR and say, look, this is putting me in a hostile work environment. Yep. I don't feel like it's ethical that I should have to cover for these two. I would like to be reassigned. If that's the case, she would be she would be entitled to get reassigned, and most importantly, they could not retaliate against her for that. Now, I think if anybody wanted to do that at this point, GMA would absolutely do that. They would accommodate that. So if there's anybody who's kind of like, I don't want to work them no more, this would be your time to put in your request.
This would probably be the best opportunity for you to get a transfer or any type. You're right about that. But I agree with you. I think they're going to put them out on hiatus for a couple of weeks, maybe till after the holiday. I said this the other day, maybe till after the holiday, let things cool down a little bit and then come back in the new year. And I believe that they're going to probably shuffle them around. I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I just don't think they're going to bring them back.
Not together.
The story keeps getting uglier. More and more information keeps coming out about this story. That's just not. It's just not pretty. Could a coworker pimp this scandal into a paid vacation? Maybe.
Possibly. The keywords to use would be hostile work environment.
Right.
No one is required to be in a hostile. And with a hostile work environment, what you can do is you can go to your therapist, have them write a note stating that they are advising that in their professional opinion, you need to take so many days off of work as a result of the hostile environment, and that they will then meet with you again for some sessions and determine if what accommodations you need, because that is actually covered and protected under the law, as well as under Americans with Disabilities Act. And if it's ever so bad, so hostile of an environment where your therapist says you shouldn't go back. So for example, I represented a woman who worked at a Gucci store type of thing, and it got robbed. And so I helped her basically get paid leave. Basically, she was getting paid to not come back because of the stress. So you can do that. And that also, like, if you think you're going to get a bad annual review, that'll protect your job, at least for a little while, because they generally don't want to fire somebody who's on a medical leave, and it's under workers' compensation. It's protected under workers' compensation, because it's considered if the hostile work environment, right, is what has caused you to need a break from work, then it's considered on the job injury. I had to learn that when I worked at a firm and I had a really abusive boss. and some of the rich Caucasian girls that worked before me. I said, what's this girl doing over there in France? She left to France to go teach yoga for a month and got paid. I said, my gosh.
What do you say? Listen. Show me your way, because listen.
Right. But now I know, so I don't take that foolishness no more. I will make a name in a minute.
There you go.
Somebody else.
There you go. Now, okay, so first of all, there's 142 people in the chat. So shout out to the 142 people in the chat. Let's do some housekeeping real quick. If you are here from Girl Is That Legal's channel, welcome. Come on down and say hi, okay? And for the people who are normal ReallyBTV people, y'all know, hey girl, hey guy, hey boo, hey. Make sure that you guys are liking the live. That is a way that it continues to push my video out on my channel and on Girl Is That Legal's channel, because we are streaming on both channels. So please hit the like button. As you come in, come on, take a seat and have a good time over here. Okay.
Yes. Head over and please hit the subscribe link. I'm trying to monetize it, y'all. So
that's what I was going to say. Please make sure that you guys are subscribed to both channels. I didn't realize you weren't monetized over there, y'all. How far are you away?
I have over the 1,000. It's the
you just need the watch time hours. Okay. All right. Yes. Well, then y'all make sure y'all go over there and check out some of her old videos and get her the watch time hours, child, so we can get her monetized for the new year. Okay. But please make sure you guys are subscribed to both channels. If any of my mods are in the room, if you guys could drop the links for both channels, because I'm not sure who's here from where. So drop the links for both channels, please. The other thing I want to say is please make sure that when you subscribe to Girl Is That Legal, make sure your notifications are on, because on Thursday, she is going to be interviewing the attorney for Shanquella Robinson. So I remember I told you guys that I was backing up off of doing a lot of coverage on Shanquella Robinson, not because the story is no longer compelling, but because there was so much false information, and I didn't want to push false information or bad information or anything like that. So please again, y'all head on over there on Thursday so you guys can get accurate, reliable, valid information, and it'll be on her channel. We don't have a time yet, but if you have your notification set, you will get it. Yes, Markel, you subscribe. You make sure you subscribe, because you're in Texas and she is in Texas, and so if you ever need, some down home legal advice, she's right there. She's right there. I'm not gonna tell you what city. I mean, people who know her know what city, but I'll tell you.
I have offices in both Dallas and Houston, and I take cases.
So she has an office in Dallas and in Houston. I'm gonna be in Dallas. We'll talk offline, but I'm gonna be in Dallas in the spring. So me and you gonna have to have. Well, you know what? I forgot you're gonna be getting married in the spring, girl. We'll talk offline.
We'll figure it
out. But yeah, you guys. So I had to get some housekeeping out the way. Now, since we did that, now let's go back over some. Y'all, let's revisit some of these other stories that we've talked about. Again, I'm gonna let the Shanquella questions. You save your questions for Thursday night on her channel. I just was going to ask about like extradition and Interpol and stuff like that. Please. I will just ask this real quick. I read that Interpol they don't arrest anybody. They just help coordinate and detain. Is that accurate?
Okay. I know that they notify. So the main thing about them, it's kind of like when they say they put a be on the lookout for a car or something in America, right? And that goes out to every police department in America. That's what Interpol is. So Interpol is so that if someone is trying to cross the border, all your border agents in every country are going to know this person is wanted. And therefore, if you see them come through, hold them for us. Yes. And then they can therefore detain them. So detaining is much easier than extraditing. That has a lot of red tape, but especially at the border, any country can detain. You could detain somebody because you think they may have drugs.
Right. Exactly. Child, they listen, customs pulled me over coming back in from France, honey. They thought I had too much stuff. They thought I hadn't declared. I said, what you talking
about? Yes. I figured,
okay.
I remember
my other question was going to be, it wasn't a question, it was a statement. Please be, and again, going into Thursday's conversation with Simone and the attorney, please be mindful, you guys, that the FBI is investigating, and the FBI is not going to share a lot of details and a lot of information. And that's another reason why I'm very cautious when certain things come out about where this information is coming from, because the FBI plays things close to the vest. So please don't go over there Thursday thinking that the attorney is going to give y'all the whole everything. That ain't probably how it's going to go down. Okay. Just so y'all know. But it will be an interesting and compelling conversation, and it'll clear up a lot of fact and fiction and what's rumored versus what's real. It will clear a lot of that up.
And I think one of the biggest myths that I just wanted to address right now is there was a myth going on that Dejanay has been arrested. That has not been confirmed. The family themselves have said not to their knowledge. And I believe that because of the fact that in order to do extradition, even where America has said that, that they wanted an investigation open, so the FBI did. There's still steps that have to take place. Now, it's a lot easier for if America is on board for the person to be sent from America to the other country, like to Mexico. It's actually more difficult the other way around. And that is because countries like Mexico they have a rule that says we will not extradite somebody to America if there's a risk that they're going to receive the death penalty.
Right. I know Canada has that as well, right?
Right. So what happens is it takes a long time, but the prosecutor has to agree that they're not going to, if that person's found guilty, that the death penalty would be taken off the table, and the most that they could get would be life in prison.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But also, what's interesting here is in the end, the family has two shots for justice. And that is how it works when an offense happens in another country. The general rule is that it's supposed to be tried in that country. And that is because that country has the closest ties to that offense. Okay. However, there have been, and whatever they're tried for and served, like if they're found guilty or whatever, or innocent, whatever they're tried for over there, they cannot also be tried for it in America. But there's a little nuance to that. So there was a case of this girl, Heather, I think Heather Love, her name is Heather, a little Black girl based out of Detroit. She went on vacation to Thailand and killed her mama. Yes, she killed her mom. She said her mom was mean and a bunch of other stupid things, right? She was about 21 at the time, and her mom actually was going to leave her like over $4 million. Her mom was white, but married to a very successful Black musician. Anyhow, over there in Thailand, she only was sentenced to 6 years in prison for murder, 6 years. They tried to say that she was a victim, that the mom was abusive and XYZ. They gave her 6 years. And then over in the Thai prison, videos were released onto social media of her kicking it at the prison. She would have little parties. People would send her, they'd send her money. She was kicking it. It looked like she was having too much fun. So guess what? The feds did. They then charged her when she was done in Thailand. They charged her back home in Detroit. So now she is about to go on trial. I'll get her last name, but she's about to drop her last name in the chat if you know who I'm talking about. Her first name is Heather. She's going to be going on trial. But what they did is they're not trying her for murder because she's already been tried for that. They're getting her for basically destruction of evidence and conspiracy, destruction of evidence, because she and her boyfriend who helped her destroyed a bunch of text messages. So she and her mom went days earlier to Thailand and were on vacation. And then she was texting back to her boyfriend who was in Detroit to kind of set up the plan of how they would do it. So the feds were able to bring charges claiming that basically she was conspiring with him.
Heather Mack,
thank you. She was conspiring with her boyfriend, as well as they destroyed evidence, being the text messages, so obstruction of justice. And you can get a lot of time for that. Here, how that's relevant is I can anticipate if the feds ultimately feel Mexico is dragging its feet, or that Mexico hasn't charged old girl severely enough, or multiple of the friends, if the FBI decides that they all colluded, the FBI can charge them with accessory after the fact is one of the things, because that means after the murder, you help somebody cover this mess up.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, and this is a conversation we had on my channel again with my law degree. If and this was before the FBI, this was before Mexico said they would charge. This was like at the very, very beginning.
Right.
And what I was saying was, would there be, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to ask Simone this question. Would there be a way if they were able to prove that any type of a conversation happened before they left, like, we're gonna get her when we get to Mexico, or, well, I'm mad at her, we'll handle it when we get to Mexico. Absolutely. Could that be seen as premeditated, and then the U.S. could have charged them based on the fact that the conspiracy started here in America?
Yes.
Look at me, y'all.
Ooh, very good. Very good. You are very, very good.
Okay, but I didn't even, and I also said that too as well after the fact, because clearly there's been a whole lot of stuff going on after they got home, child.
Yes, and so that's why I gave the example of this Heather Mack situation, because that's exactly what happened. Because she was if he had already been in Thailand, they wouldn't have been able to get her on that. But because he was there, she was here. She was in Thailand and he was in America. They were able to tie it to American soil effectively, and the charge was conspiracy because they conspired while he was still in America. Here,
I remember Plan B. The Practice was my show. Yeah, they Plan B everything on The Practice. We talked about that yesterday. We were talking about that yesterday when we were talking about giving we were talking about Casey Anthony and giving an alternative case, alternative view of the case. Anyway, you got your law degree from Criminal Minds. Okay, I'm scared of you, Morgan. Okay. You got your law degree from Criminal Minds, girl. I'm scared of you. All right, so let's move on. But again, she'll dig deeper into that on her channel on Thursday night. So let's move on a little bit. Let's revisit a couple of the cases we've already discussed here and just kind of give some updates. Now,
so give me all the cases we're going to do and then break them down each one.
Okay, so I was just going to revisit Larry Reid, Wendy Williams, and then Bishop Whitehead. It's not really a lot on all of them, but just since we've talked about them, just kind of let's start with Wendy Williams. I think my question about the Wendy Williams piece is, it has come out, and you said this. I always give you credit. I'd be like, yeah, Simone said that was the situation. Now, you said this when we gave the update, once you were able to get some information about more detailed about Wells Fargo. You mentioned the son, and you mentioned the husband. The red flag was that the husband had gotten into her accounts. Am I correct? I don't want to misquote.
Correct.
The red flag at Wells Fargo was that the husband had gotten into her accounts, and they knew her husband was not supposed to have ex-husband wasn't supposed to have any access to the accounts, right?
So yeah, now this dude was so bold. He was basically trying to come into the bank and do transactions like he always did. But because it was so well known that the two of them had that nasty divorce, that is why the agent was like, hold up, wait a minute, Because sure enough, what would have happened is she would have been able to later on come back and say, I didn't authorize that. Wells Fargo, you let him, and Wells Fargo, now I'm suing you.
So now we fast forward the last couple of days, the husband is basically letting us know that he's broke and that he needs this money. So do we now, everybody that was kind of coming for Wells Fargo saying they was doing too much and they was going, and I say we because it ain't me, but do we kind of owe Wells Fargo an apology and say, hey, maybe you guys were on point, because we see that the husband is kind of desperate. He said that he's behind on all of his bills. His house is getting ready to go into foreclosure. But what he's saying is, now this is the legal question. From my understanding, and I know you haven't read what I've read, or you may not, I should say you haven't. From my understanding, so I asked you two different questions, I guess. The first one was, do we owe Wells Fargo an apology? Were they on point because they kind of saw this going on? But my second question is, from my understanding, their divorce agreement, his spousal support was based off the fact that they saw him as an employee. And as long as the Wendy Williams show was a thing, he got a check. But once the Wendy Williams show was no longer a thing, that is why his money stopped. It's not because of the Wells Fargo thing. Am I understanding right or wrong? Or
so the answer is this. Of course, I haven't looked at the documents. That may have been the rationale that was negotiated between both attorneys. I absolutely could see that happening, but I can guarantee you it wasn't written in the document. And if it's not in the document, it never happened, and it's not a basis to stop. Yes. So what would generally happen when you're negotiating a divorce settlement is, each side goes back and forth and says, I don't want to give him shit. And the other's like, but I deserve this. And Wendy's side is like, he doesn't get, he cheated on me. He's not deserving of anything. Then his lawyer, if I was his lawyer, what I would have said is, you know what? It was trifling how my client had a baby on Wendy after all the years they'd been together. But even if we set that aside, if we just look at the fact that he was her employee, if we get him, if she pays him for this many years, it's the same as if it's the same as if Wendy is simply paying him to not show up to work. And we both know Wendy does not want to have to look at his fat face and on the set no more. So would you please present to your client the option that they can just pay this dollar amount? And, if she doesn't want to give him a dime based on him cheating, explain it to her as though it's his salary to not show up and piss you off.
So maybe that was his understanding. But so then let me ask you this. And Tracy asked the question. Tracy asked the question, and we talked about this as well. Based on the fact that there's a conservator now over her, or financial conservator, whatever the correct term is, over her accounts, right? Mm-hmm. They would be obligated to pay her monthly bills. Now it's the extra stuff that they have that she has to ask permission about, right? Can I go to Louis Vuitton and buy 5 bags today but her bills. So if he was listed as a bill, wouldn't that be included? Because spousal support would be a bill, right?
Yeah, spousal support is a bill. That is correct. If he was listed as spousal support would be a bill. That person is responsible for paying all of her debts as they are due. And so if this is in fact, I am more likely to believe it was set as spousal support than as income, but it could have been. However, here's the thing. In the same way that person that's appointed is obligated to pay her bills, what people don't realize is they literally are stepping in her shoes, so they're obligated to protect her. So if they are now seeing, as we are, she doesn't have the show income anymore, they are obligated to file a motion along with her former divorce attorney that says, hey, Your Honor, we need you to reduce these alimony payments. We need you to reduce this. And therefore, that's probably what they're doing, is getting everything that she's supposed to pay him reduced under the explanation that when it was ordered, she was healthy. She ain't no more. So that's probably why he's really shitting bricks, is because it's no different, right, than when these girls marry these football players, right? The football player first has to give them this high alimony. They come back after their career's over. They say, Judge, I ain't got it no more. And the judge looks over and says, you're right, you don't. And cuts her alimony. Same thing for good old Kev over here. Sorry, Charlie.
Okay. So Cali Girl says that her lawyer said it is in the decree. But what is in the decree?
Which part? Yeah.
Yeah, what's in the decree? Okay, so
even if the decree sets, because what people don't realize is the decree sets in time what's supposed to be happen as of the date of the divorce. But situations can happen in your life where it's no longer feasible to pay what was ordered in the divorce. That's when you just simply go for a modification. So yeah, let's hear what she's saying was in the decree. Was it that he's getting paid as his salary? Or is it that he's getting spousal support?
Yeah, because that again, for me, I feel like, and again, this is just based on, my basic understanding, but I do know that when you are under any type of financial restraint like that, you have to list out your bills. They're not gonna not let you pay your mortgage and pay
Right.
your light bill and electric bill and your credit card and your car note. And if you pay child support or you pay spousal support, that is a bill. So it seems to me he's saying that he hasn't been getting paid since Wells Fargo took over her account. So it seems to me that when she had to sit down with that when she went to court and they said we're going to put a conservator over your financial account for the next 6 months or however long it was, she had to sit down, her attorney had to sit down and go over her bills. So it seems to me like that wasn't listed.
I would believe, or it wasn't listed in a manner that made it imperative to be paid under these circumstances.
Okay.
See, because when she has a guardian appointed like this, they're supposed to pay your necessities. So like if she had a kid, her child support would be getting paid. No questions asked. No questions asked. But if it's put in there like as though it's his salary for the business, well, if the business ain't operating, boo-boo, you ain't getting your salary. Her lawyer said it's in the decree, that he is to be paid until Wendy no longer receives payment from the show. Okay. But I thought he got a lump sum for the divorce. For the divorce, usually you do get some form of a lump sum. It could be from the selling of a home, or it could be from the selling of assets, or it could be in anticipation of you like relinquishing your right to a home in exchange for like refinancing. They may have refinanced it. But it says, that he is to be paid until Wendy no longer receives payment from the show. Okay. So if that is in the decree, it sounds like it may have been worded as though he's getting a salary, which again, when
the show ended, there's no salary. The show's over.
Yeah, if the show is over. And if anyone can send me an article, please do. My email is, you can just do ask@girlisthatlegal.com. Feel free to send me articles or any docs, or you can Instagram me at Attorney Simone Redwine. And I would love to take a look and just give you a comment on that too. But anybody feel sorry for Kevin? I sure don't.
I'm about to say, I don't think nobody trying to help Kevin out. All right, let's go through these last two really quickly.
Okay.
Bishop Whitehead is real easy. There's really not a lot, but we do know that he is dealing right now with that apartment building up in Connecticut that the judge has told him right now he's pending. Look like he's looking at default on that loan for the apartment complex up and that's for a couple of $1 million. He's filed lawsuits against in addition to Larry Reid and King Jives, he also filed a defamation lawsuit against what's her name, y'all? What's her name? The DJ out of Philadelphia. Oh gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I know y'all know who it is. But
not Kendra. Not Kendra.
No, they're gonna put it in the chat because they know who I'm talking about. Now, here's my question to you. He's alleging in this defamation lawsuit that's a good question. Can he file for unemployment now?
Absolutely. As long as absolutely he can. I mean, in New York State, it's actually New York is the lowest of all the states, which is like $1,600 a month. But Jersey is actually one of the highest because I was at a firm that had offices in both. And when I got done with them, I said, I will leave and not accuse you of what you've done if you pay me based on Jersey, which at the time was $2,400 a month, and I think now it's maybe up to $2,800 to $3,000. Yeah,
Miss Jones. I knew one of y'all was gonna tell me Miss Jones. Now, what he is saying is that Miss Jones. Now, in the lawsuit, it said on or about August the 12th. It was after the alleged robbery. He said that he's in Florida, but he was employed. The Wendy Williams show filmed in New York, so it will be based and where you work, not where you live. right?
It depends. If her LLC is headquartered in Jersey, it could be Jersey. It just varies.
Okay.
It depends.
But it's not Florida because he lives in Florida. It's based your unemployment is based on
Right.
where the
Where it
company is out of. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what he is accusing her of is he's saying that after the robbery, she said on air that he was a former drug dealer and that he is using his church to wash the money. And of course, she said he lied about the robbery. Now, I was not able to find. Now they have her YouTube channel. She actually had the show where she would stream the show on the YouTube channel. I think it might have been edited because I went and I looked and I could not find, and no one has been able to bring it to me, send me a clip. And
Stream
no one,
what show?
her radio show. So he's saying that on her and he said that she took call-ins where they were like clowned him, and I have not. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, but I have not been able to find the clip of her saying this. Now the radio station may have taken it down, but I feel like they wouldn't have taken it down until he filed the documents.
One way to know is when with attached to that petition, generally it'll say exhibit and give an exhibit list. One of the exhibits would likely be a CD audio of her saying that if she in fact did. What do you know what state this is pending in? New York or Philly?
Well, he lives in New York. She works out of Is her radio show out of New Jersey or New York, y'all? No, you know what? I think it's New York. So it would be New York. I think her radio show's out of New York. She used to have a radio show in Philly, but her radio show now is in New York. Yeah.
But here's the thing. If she said it in the form of an opinion, right? The part about, I think he's using his church to wash his money. She's protected. That's an opinion. If she's saying it though, as in like, I have evidence and I'm going to show you guys evidence that that's what he's doing, then it could be under defamation. Also, the first thing that she said, which is that
he's a former drug dealer.
Yeah. Well, I can believe that a lot of people would believe that. And I wouldn't be surprised if the reason he's upset about that is he might be dibbling dabbling to this day some more, only because his numbers don't add up. But if she can find any records that where he was charged with that or any of that, she'll be fine. And also, here's the big thing. Y'all got to be people who are filing these defamation suits, they need to be really careful because there is a particular law that was created to protect bloggers and people like ourselves expressing our opinion. So basically, it's the Citizens Protection Act. Each state has its variable. But the gist of it is this. It was made because, with social media, what was happening is people were going and making negative Google reviews, for example, on company Google pages or the Better Business Bureau, right? And then the corporation was suing that person for defamation. Well, the corporation had more resources. So by the time they drug that person to court, that person was basically ended up paying so much money that even if they won, they lost. So now the laws change, and here's what happened. The minute somebody sues you for defamation, if you can show that it's an issue of public concern, which this is, right? You saying, I believe this guy is committing a crime. I believe he's scamming. I believe he set this up. I believe he's stealing from his church or washing his money. That's an issue of public concern. All you have to do is establish that you were commenting on an issue of public concern. It then shifts the burden to him to prove that you're lying. And guess what? He gets zero discovery, which means he doesn't get to ask you for documents. He doesn't get to ask you for records. He doesn't get to ask you for shit.
Oh, wow.
He cannot prove by clear and convincing evidence that what you were saying is he has to be able to show that it was not simply your opinion and that it's untrue. If he can't prove that with no discovery, you win your attorney's fees and you can get up to 3 times your damages, whether it's lost income from, you couldn't go on YouTube and vlog, you couldn't do speaking engagements, but you can get up to 3 times your damages. Plus, it is mandatory that he pay you your lawyer fees.
Well, that's why I was trying to find the clip because I wanted to hear exactly what she said. Mm-hmm. Because like you said, if she prefaced her statements with, I feel like, I known dudes back in the day.
Or
who
I
did
wouldn't be
it.
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Right. It's very, you have to hear what she said. Just saying, well, she said I was a drug dealer, especially him. I don't trust nothing he say. So you can't just say, oh, what she said. I need to know what she said. And so that's why and when I say I look for that clip, and I couldn't find it because I listened to, if you go back to her YouTube channel, I listened to her radio shows for like a week. I listened to that whole week that he said, and I didn't find it. And again, that doesn't mean it wasn't edited.
Yeah,
but
his petition has to say, his petition has to list the excerpt. So we'll have to try to work on getting the petition. It has to list the excerpt of what exactly was said. And it's best if he then attaches and says on such and such day. That way you can perhaps go back and listen on that day. I actually won a suit where I was accused of that. I was a wrongful death case where I was suing a corporation that made medical devices for killing a child. And they filed a suit like that against me after I went on the news to inform everyone that the product had gotten recalled by the FDA. They accused me of extortion, which wasn't true, and a variety of things. And they sued both myself and ABC News. As a result, ABC did pull down the interview from their website. However, I won that lawsuit. And I was entitled to like $145,000 in legal expenses. But the company ended up being so dangerous that they bankrupted. I bankrupted them because I took the evidence to the FDA, and the FDA said, yep, this product's deadly. Pulled it from the market. So ultimately, I never got my $140K that I was entitled to, but the company crumbled. So I just say that to say this particular law that stops everything and makes the other side prove it is real useful. Mm-hmm. And we'll have to wait and see if she's going to utilize it. Because if she was my client, that would be the first motion, because you have to file that motion within like 60 days.
Well, I think where he messed up is that going back to your point, I think where he messed up is that he's not just suing her. He's also suing the radio station, which is owned by one of the major radio.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about. Oh, well, that's exactly what happened to me. Because what was great is because they sued ABC News Network, ABC does what for a living? News and investigations.
Right.
So in turn, they sicked their investigators on the matter. So that's what's going to happen with this radio station. So the radio station, and you don't want to sue somebody who got an insurance policy that protects them. All radio stations have defamation coverage. It's an insurance policy. So
yeah, because he's upset. He did a live last night, and he's like, and she's still on the air. And why is she still on the air? And I'm like, because they're not going to pull her off the air just because you sued her. Like, that's not how this works.
No, not at all. And he's going to run out of money before she will, or the next they would have done better. He would have done better just suing her. But by involving the radio station, what happens is the insurance company becomes the person that pays the legal fees, right? She probably doesn't have to pay her legal fees. So she was probably grateful. In the same way, if you're in a car wreck, right? If you're in a car wreck, your insurance defends you against the other side.
Right.
Yes. So because he sued the radio station, instead of him being able to possibly bankrupt her and getting her, in the way that like 50 Cent got Tierra Marie on the hook for that money, it's going to be a corporate policy. And then in addition, they are going to find and air out all of his stuff. I'm talking, they're going to know if he had a snotty nose in the 3rd grade. They're going to know if he went to detention in the 10th grade. They are going to know all of it because they have access and money to use the best.
And that's actually what I was going to say. I'm sorry. I'm going to talk over you. No, but that's actually what I think we said this the last time with the last lawsuit. Sir, you now have to open up your finances. When you're suing people, because you're saying that, because remember the Larry Reid lawsuit, he's suing Larry Reid because Larry Reid said that the FBI is investigating him for basically potential fraud. So now you are suing him saying that that's not true. So now you have to open up to prove that one, the FBI is not investigating you, because it doesn't mean that the FBI has a real case. It doesn't mean the FBI is going to charge you. It doesn't even mean that you're going to be found guilty. He said they're investigating you, and you're saying that there's no fraud involved. Well, now it potentially can open up your finances, which I don't think that's what you want.
Mark my words, Pastor Bishop Whitehead is going to get federally charged with something that relates to mishandling money, whether it's, I don't know if it's going to be money laundering or what, but it's going to be related because his numbers simply don't make sense. The lifestyle that he lives versus the income that his church appears to bring in, even if you watch his lives. I've had more people on my lives than him. Okay.
Well, prior to the robbery, he allegedly had over 1 million. He was verified on Instagram and allegedly had over 1 million followers or subscribers or whatever on Instagram. Yet he would go live and have less than 100 people before all of this happened.
Right.
Before the robbery, he would have. So you listen, anybody who's on YouTube knows that don't add up. You can't have 1 million subscribers on YouTube and go live and only have 100 people in the chat. The math just ain't mathing.
But watch. So this is how he's going to get caught. You talked initially about him he's about to go under for one of his properties, right?
He had put his house on the market, but then he took it off. He had put his house up for sale, but he took it off.
So that property that's about to go under, that is probably what's going to be the cause of him getting federally charged and having to do some time for financial crimes. And here's why. The feds seem to really leave you alone and not really care when you're paying your debts on time. However, when you have a public persona like his and you're super showy, and then you can't pay your mortgage that should be easy to pay if you're running around in your Bentley with, a Christian Dior suit on every other day and so forth, then what happens is they go
them AliExpress suits, but go ahead, child.
Right. The first thing they pull is your mortgage loan application. If you lie on that, it's a wrap.
That's been the question. Like, how did you get approved for this multi-million-dollar loan for this apartment complex that now he's in default? He's in default now. Not only is he in default on the mortgage for the apartment complex, he's also had 2 vehicles that have gone into default. And like I said, he listed the house. Now he bought the house for like 1.5, but he listed it for like 2.9, but then he took it off the market. So I don't know what that's about, but
the issue is going to be because people are quick to inflate their income to get a property, right? But then they don't want to pay the taxes on it. And so where they get in trouble is not paying taxes commensurate with the income that you put on your mortgage loan application. Now, even if it's a jumbo loan, it doesn't matter. So the first thing the feds do is they ask for a copy of your mortgage loan application where you list your income sources. Then they compare it to the taxes that you filed in that same year where you're stating the income that you made. If it's not identical, you're screwed. You're in big trouble.
That's what they're getting Donald Trump on, isn't it? Isn't that one of the things against Donald Trump is that he lied on his documents to get loans?
Yeah, he inflates it to get loans and deflates it for taxes. But y'all, that's also what got the Chrisleys. If the Chrisleys had not defaulted on their home loan, they probably wouldn't have gotten found out. But when you start defaulting, but you're in the public eye, that's the problem. My mom used to always say, Black Enterprise used to want to interview my father and his business partner for this tech company that they ran. And my mother was like, you cannot be in Black Enterprise. I was like, why? Why would we not want to support them? She's like, because every time somebody ends up in there, they get audited. And that actually used to be the case. So IRS agents, what they would do pre-social media is they would use magazine articles that from magazines like Inc. and Time and Forbes and wait for you to say, my company is worth this or that and compare your taxes to that and get you. That's what's about to happen to Pastor Whitehead because he's out here lying and bringing too much attention to himself.
Well, and this is going to be the last word on that. And then we're going to do Larry Reid. Then we're going to get out of here. But that's what he has started saying now. Like I said, I haven't been coming down here every time he talk, y'all, because he's saying the same stuff over and over again. When he say something new, I'll come and tell y'all about it. But one of the things that he's been saying lately and over and over again in his little lives, because really he's just been going on rants, but he's been repeating himself. He's started talking about how much money he lost as a result of this publicity over the last couple of months. He said, people, I've lost so many business deals. People don't want to do business with me anymore. People don't want, and I'm thinking to myself, but nothing new came out about you. So if the people wanted to do business with you before, but he's not, and I feel like he's setting that up. Like, this is why his money is funny, because he said, I lost so many members of my church. So many members left the church. They were afraid of getting robbed. And he's really setting this up. Like, I feel like he's really, because he's not using that space anymore. He's only ministering from his house. He's only on Sundays, he goes live from his house, because he said, we're just not ready yet, because after the lady came in and he said, the lady broke into the church, whatever.
Well, it's not going to work because it goes by when he submitted these mortgage documents and stuff. Your mortgage document literally is signed under penalty of perjury. So back when he signed that, he was under other circumstances. Back when he got the building, same thing. Any type of whether it's FHA or anything else, anytime where you're getting money that's come from a bank that's FDIC insured, you're basically up for the risk of getting federally charged if you lie about your income.
Yeah, and I can't say for certain, but I feel like he got his wife to lie under oath, because when he went to court last month for the violations for the property, because his tenants are saying he's a slumlord and da. And they served the bank that he's in default with, served him at his house, because whatever they have to follow. And when he went into court, he said, I was never served. I never got any paperwork. And the process server was like, we gave it to your wife. She signed for it. And the man described his wife to a T, blonde hair, blah, 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 about this tall, about this weight. And do you know his wife testified and was like, that wasn't me. I'm not 5'4", I'm 5'6". Like, it was, I said, oh, y'all playing games. Okay.
They really are. Yeah, so we'll have to stay tuned, y'all. Again, if you have any good articles on them, send them to Crystal. Crystal can then send them to me.
Right.
I just want to investigate that.
All right. Now, the last update, and again, we're going to hurry and get you out of here. We've been here almost 2 hours. But remember the last time we were talking on Larry Reid, and we were talking about how Larry Reid is suing he's not a young man now, but the man who is saying that Larry Reid assaulted him when he was younger, when all those tapes came out that Daryl Moore exposed on his YouTube channel. And remember, we talked about the fact that he sued Daryl Moore just to get the injunction so Daryl Moore would shut up. And remember, you were saying, I don't understand why he didn't go after Daryl Moore, and why he didn't go after the guy who's telling. Why would he go after Daryl Moore and not go after the guy that's telling the lies? Well, now he has. He has now sued I'll just say young man, for lack of a better word. He has sued him for defamation. And the young man has responded. And basically he said, listen, I live with Larry Reid. This is what happened to me. He's lying. He uses his show to influence people and yada, yada, yada. So that will move through the court system. But also, he also took Daryl Moore back to court, because he said Daryl Moore was violated their order, basically the agreement that they came up with. Because remember, it never went to court. They just made an agreement. If you shut up, I'll shut up. So he took Daryl Moore back to court, and the judge found that Daryl Moore violated the agreement almost to the day that they made it. Because what Daryl Moore was doing was Daryl Moore was sharing videos about Larry Reid on his YouTube channel. And Daryl Moore was like, but I wasn't saying anything. I just shared them on my community wall. And the judge was like, but you can't do that. That's de facto you saying I am endorsing this and I'm agreeing with this and I am advocating for this. And if y'all agreed, you won't say nothing, I won't say nothing. Also, so they fined him something like, I think it's something like $25 a day from the date of the agreement, which was almost a year ago. Well, but maybe what was it? No, like 6 or 7 months ago. It was a while ago. So if you do the math,
March, I think it was like March.
March. Okay. So if you do the math, That is, listen, so that is sort of the update since the last time. Now I know you probably haven't had a chance to pull the documents of the guy's response, but I think it is in Pacer now.
Yeah, I haven't yet, but I will say this. Unfortunately, even if Larry is right, it's going to be a challenging fight as long as the other guy can stay in the fight. And the reason why is, first, if the other guy, the alleged victim person, if he is able, if I were him, I would immediately file a motion to dismiss under the Citizen Protection Act that I talked about before, right?
Okay.
Because if someone is actually molesting or abusing people, that's a matter of public concern. So he can file that immediately. That's going to stop discovery, meaning the very expensive exchange of evidence. There will be no exchange of evidence. And it shifts the burden to Larry to prove that this was untrue.
And I think that's why Larry didn't want to do it. Because remember, Larry was like, I'm not going to, like, because again, Larry does have very good attorneys. And I'm sure his attorneys told him. But what happened was, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, but what happened was that guy went on to Bishop Whitehead's Instagram channel and did a whole nother interview. And I think at that point, that's when Larry Reid was like, okay, you know what? He's not going to stop. Every time somebody who's mad at me or who has an issue with me, they're going to always reach out to him and he's going to regurgitate. And I think that might have been his attempt. I'm not saying Larry's guilty or innocent. That ain't my business. And I'm certainly not in the judge or jury. But I think that's maybe his mentality on it, because he hasn't, and people even asked him about it before, and he was like, no, I'm not going to sue him. Like, I've talked to my attorneys. I know. And so I guess maybe he just feels desperate at this point to shut this guy up, whether the guy's telling the truth
for his reputation too. Yeah, he needs it to show the level of seriousness he's taking it. Now, I don't know what kind of attorneys that this guy has, but if his attorney is good and knows about, and does defamation, he would immediately file this motion. And the thing of it is if Larry can't prove that this is a lie with clear and convincing evidence, then the other guy wins by default, and Larry will have to pay him his lawyer fees.
Well, and I shouldn't say this because I don't know who the attorney is. So let me preface by saying I don't know who the attorney is, but I think I know who I do think I know who the attorney is, and I'll tell you offline. But I will say this: Bishop Whitehead is paying for the attorney. So
okay, and then the second defense that potentially this victim could have that's important is that there is actually immunity for basically criminal causes of action. You can't sue someone for the fact that they went and said, you have victimized me. There's literal immunity from that. It cannot be the basis of a lawsuit for defamation. Now, you can sue them for malicious prosecution or any of that. But the fact that someone has gone to the police and said, you abused me, that in and of itself is immune from a defamation lawsuit, meaning if you file a defamation lawsuit against them, they could say, Your Honor, this is a protected legal action. And that is because if this weren't there, you would have rich people suing poor people who have accused them of the R word or anything else under defamation to get them to go away.
Mm-hmm.
So
Monique said he might as well hire me. Child, look.
Yes, Monique, babe. Yes, he probably should.
So we will. So Simone, thank you so much for being here. We've been here almost 2 hours. I thank you for your time. We had a lot to catch up on, honey. But we're gonna try to be more regular now that we not dancing on tabletops down to the wherever y'all was.
Right. No, yeah, we're at the house. Oh, and I know you did a deep dive into Kim Zolciak. Did you have any questions, follow-ups?
No, because I think did we talk about Kim?
How she was basically lying and that she has not.
We talked offline about it. Yeah, we talked offline about it. But everything you told me on the phone is what we ended up finding out being the case. So what? Okay, thank you. What? And I think I did tell my people this, but since we're here, we will round it up. Mm-hmm. Kim Zolciak house situation. The reason why Kim is so confident that she doesn't have to leave her home isn't because she wasn't in default. but because of the law in Georgia, right? And that's
Right.
what it was. So the
Yeah.
law in Georgia basically says she has a year to pay off the default
To get
before
her
they
house
can
back,
do
basically.
anything.
Even if she defaults on a loan, she's got a year to redeem her property. All she has to do is pay what's owed, plus like some attorney's fees and penalty fees, that kind of thing. But also, because it was just her second mortgage, you can't kick her out unless you pay both the second and the first mortgage. So all that a foreclosure auction would have done in that situation for the second mortgage would be to satisfy that. And then the person who won that mortgage could then go to the mortgage company that has her main loan, which is the 1.6 million, and either negotiate and say, hey, can we do a short sale? What are they on that? Okay, it's 1.6. They owe 1. I'll give you the 1 and you give me the rights to ownership. And the bank could say yes. And that happens a lot. And if that happens, basically they pay off both of the loans. What happens then is Kim still gets 1 year to get her funds together so that she can pay them. She can borrow the money from a friend. She can get it from Donald Trump. She can get wherever she can get it, but she's got 1 year to redeem her house. So that's why when she was saying she's still going to be in the house in her birthday in May, it's true. She would be, but it's not because she's paid her debts, poor thing.
It's because the laws of the state of Georgia.
Yes.
So thank you. Yeah, because we talked offline, and then I think we talked offline about that. So yes. Oh, Janae says, is Kim about to ask Bravo for a job? Ultimate Girls Trip? Maybe she can get on. The Ultimate Girls Trip, they good for bringing the old heads back for the Ultimate Girls Trip, child.
Yeah, she needs to. I could definitely see her trying to run on over to Dubai and help them out because she ain't got nothing.
People go over there and make some money. Now listen, there's 140 people in the chat. We're gonna do some housekeeping for the last time before we get out of here. If you are not subscribed to Girl Is That Legal, y'all make sure y'all subscribe to Girl Is That Legal. We are streaming on both channels right now. My mods, if you could drop the link one more time for me, please, and thank you. And if you are from Girl Is That Legal's channel and you are not subscribed to me, go on and come on over and hit that subscribe button over here, okay? On Thursday night, Girl Is That Legal will be talking to the attorney for Shanquella Robinson. So any questions, again, understand that there are things that they cannot tell you, but anything that they can share, they will talk about, and they're going to talk about the case and what is fact that's out there, what's fake that's out there, what's valid, and what we know. So y'all make sure you have your notifications turned on because we don't have a time yet, because she is literally going to be flying back in town on Thursday. And so that way you guys can get the notification, and I will post it on my community wall as well. But yeah, so thank you so much. And again, if you need an attorney, her phone number is posted. She is out of Texas. She has offices in Dallas and in Houston, but she can help you throughout the United States. And if she can't, she can put you in contact with someone who can. So call that 1-800 number. It's a free call. And even if you just have a question, she'll let you listen. Y'all see, she know what she's talking about, because when we had these conversations, everything she said comes to pass. Even people who be trying to tell me, your attorney don't know what she's talking about. And then 2-3 months later, I'll be like, but she said this. She said this.
Thank you, girl. Thank you for believing me. See you guys later. I enjoyed it.
Bye, you guys. I'm going to get out of here too. Y'all have a good evening. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks again.